Hi guys, welcome to my little video of the behind the scenes, the creating of my short little documentary. I entered the last Bertha film competition and the year of lost music. Just in case you haven't actually watched the documentary, there's a link to the description. Watching this video before watching that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, so you should definitely check it out. I'll still be here when you watch it and come back. So this video is, as well as telling the whole story behind the documentary and adding some tips along the way, hopefully I can convince you to enter the next film competition. And the deadline is Thursday, the 19th of November. And just in case you come here specifically for a certain section or certain bit of information, there's timestamps in the description to jump to straight to the section that you're more interested in or a particular subject. The way this video is going to be organized is 3 parts. The first part is really a bit more about myself, how I came about creating the documentary, some more the planning stuff and how I developed the idea of the documentary before heading to Act 2, which is the more production stuff and the actual act of filming it and all the little bits and interesting stories along the way. The Act 3 is more the editing, post-production stuff. So if you're a bit of an editor, there might be a few tips for you to pick up. And also, if you're doing your first documentary, maybe a couple of tips along the way just to how you approach the edit and whatnot. And maybe a small reflection on doing the documentary. Let's head straight to Act 1 and I'll go into more details of how the documentary came about. So let's head to the laptop. Okay, right, in this section I'm going to talk more about the backstory of how I came about making that documentary and maybe introduce myself. That's probably a good idea. So let's start there. Who am I? Well, my name's Joe. I am a videographer based out in East London. I specialise in filming short form documentaries, promos, live streams, and I'm an events filmmaker. The events filmmaking side of things is a little bit slow at the moment, as you can imagine. I'm also one of the organisers of the London Documentary Network. We're a group of documentary fans. I also have a small YouTube channel based around travel, and it's more my experimental stuff. But this channel is really more my professional work. So yeah, you're going to see, if you click on any of the other videos, you'll probably find lots of the promo stuff that I've been doing recently. So why did I choose this subject? Well, I've always been a fan of live music, and live music pretty much kickstarted my career in filmmaking. And on my other YouTube channel, I actually had this great idea to be sort of like a music journo by traveling around different music festivals, filming it, creating these music festival after movie type things and interviewing different bands and artists. Turns out it's really hard work when you're trying to enjoy yourself, film, interview, and do all of that yourself. So that didn't last very long. But what it did do, it helped me practice my filmmaking skills. And so like the genesis of this project was me thinking, maybe I should just try and give something back. I guess I was in the right place at the right time, helping a friend doing the live stream for music, which I'll go into more in a second. So I'm just going to talk quickly about how the competition came onto my radar. I saw on Twitter that Bertha DocHouse was doing this competition somewhere on the beginning of September. And I thought to myself, you know what, that looks really interesting. So on the 2nd September, read it, and I did next to nothing about it. A couple of days later, on I think it was the 4th or 5th of September, I actually met with a friend of mine for lunch, and I decided to go through my idea for this documentary. And the first tip I will give you on making a doc or making any type of film is to find a collaborator or a friend that you can trust or who can give you constructive feedback, and just use them to use as a sounding board. A good friend of mine, Afshin, I've known him for years. In fact, we kind of practice and work on each other's projects, and he is the perfect person where I basically just talk at him, and through me just talking at somebody, it helps and makes my ideas more concrete. And that's my first top tip. If you have an idea, either writing it down or just using somebody as a sounding board just to try and more solidify that idea. And then after I talked to my friend, what did I do? I procrastinated for quite a few days. By now it was I think it was the 8th of September. And I thought, I think the biggest thing that was holding me back was I thought I had this great idea for doing the short piece, but I actually questioned why I should be doing it. I guess I got into a bit of an imposter syndrome. I mean, who am I to do a piece of questioning the live music industry? But I quickly got over myself, and so I thought, fuck it. And we were off to the races. On the 8th of September, I actually did a short piece to camera explaining the idea for this project. Did it just like this. Turned on my camera, filmed it, sent it out to the world. woke up the next morning and had quite a few people actually emailing me and who's actually interested in the project. So I thought, oh, this project has legs. So how long did it take to make? So from the 8th to the 24th of September was the main chunk of making the documentary, which I think was just over 2 weeks. So in 2 weeks, I managed to develop the idea, find people to interview them, edit, and I think I got in total, I interviewed a total of 9 people in the end. I knew from the outstart it's going to be a bit of a challenge. I didn't really think too much about it because my main documentary experience got started from Doc in a Day. So I should mention what Doc in a Day is. Doc in a Day is a film competition hosted by the London Documentary Network, and the idea is that you try and make a documentary in a day, or more precisely 36 hours. And in my eyes, it's guerrilla filmmaking at its best. If you're looking for inspirations or ideas of how to go about filming certain pieces, you should definitely check out the winners and run-up playlists. Going to the first Doc in a Day was the moment where I thought, I really fancy doing more of this. Just after that first film, making that doc literally in a day, I thought this is an incredible experience making these films. I mean, the film was absolutely terrible, but that's not the point. The point is that you went out there and you just made something with a group of people that you just met. That's pretty magical, I thought. So let's talk more about the initial pre-production plan. After I came up with the idea of the live music industry and how it's in trouble, I realized that actually there's lots of different types of people, and I wasn't too sure exactly how I'm going to capture all these like different points of view and who the people are. So what I did, I created this mind map and identified who the groups of people are, thought about a whole bunch of questions. I actually jumped onto YouTube, looked at a bunch of videos, and I was actually getting more and more excited about this piece because there wasn't a video that got into the details of what I wanted to get into. Top tip, if you're trying to organize a whole bunch of different subjects and themes, classic documentary filmmakers use the post-it notes, but I'm a big fan of mind maps. I'll leave a link in the description. There's 2 pieces of software, MindMeister X Map or something that I recommend, but pretty much any mind mapping software can do the same thing. A digital mind map is fantastic because you can just quickly shift stuff around, and what I like with the more digital versions is that you can just add a link and it will link to the video, especially if you're going to create pretty big bulky mind maps. Like actually for this particular video I did a quick mind map just to try and work out what I wanted to say, because I didn't want to make this a whole hour piece. I just wanted to try and condense it into 15 minutes or so. Not too sure whether I'm going to be successful about that, but hey, we'll see how it goes. How did I find people to interview? Over the summer, when things were a little bit quiet on the job front for me, a friend of mine, Rob, he invited me to come and give a helping hand for a project he was working with a company called Hotvox. Hotvox is a promoter company, events company, and they have on their books thousands of unsigned bands. And what they usually do is they book these bands for events like Isle of Wight and a few of the big festivals around Europe. As you can imagine, no events, no festivals over the summer. Their business was completely destroyed, so they had to find another way to, keep people engaged and to bring some income. So Rob and Hotvox, they came up with the idea of doing live music streams, and I thoroughly recommend checking out their live streams because it's basically broadcast quality. Multi-camera setup, really cool bands, a real mixed bag. Definitely worth checking out. Okay, enough with the sales pitch. But anyway, he got me involved. I got to meet all of these different bands, and in between setups and after their gigs, I just got chatting to them, and that's actually another part of how this idea came about. So I guess that leads me into another tip on where to find stories. At work, if you're working in a certain place, in a certain situation, chances are there's somebody who's holding a story that is just dying to be told. So that was the backstory of actually how the idea came about. Now for the real fun stuff in my eyes, the actual production, the actual making of the documentary. So, I've been stuck indoors all day, so let's go outside and do that section out there.